what should people take care, do ensure that their claims don't get rejected?
According to me, there are only two things that you can do. Meaning, in my view, either you become an expert yourself, right, where you study the product yourself, you understand the terms and conditions, all the exclusions yourself, or you rely on an expert.
If people buy policy online versus through an agent, the policy gets served better if it is bought through an agent. Okay. The two questions here. One is that true? Ideal term for which you should take term insurance?
Typically, what I would recommend is whatever is the age where you feel that you would have enough net worth to take care of your family even if you don't exist, and then go for term and mutual fund. But don't just go by someone like an influencer saying something to you. A lot of people's careers are dependent on what they said 10 years ago, right? I know of such people who are celebrity influencers. उन्होंने 10 साल पहले बोल दिया था कि म्यूचुअल फंड्स आर बेटर, डोंट मिक्स इंश्योरेंस एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट, राइट? एंड नाउ दे कैन नॉट बैक ट्रैक even if a better ULIP product has come. And I've had conversations with such people and explained and proven to them that there are a few, very, very few ULIPs which can actually match mutual funds in terms of fund management and also in terms of performance and in terms of charge structure also. But they did not budge, right? So I'm saying, and I am also, don't take me, whatever I am saying also, don't take it that also with a pinch of salt. But what I am trying to just bring out here is that there are certain features which could be good for you. If you go to a bank and tell a person who's doing FD, tell him everything, but still he's putting money in FD, right? So FD should also be then bad products that way, is what I'm trying to say. That way is what I'm saying. The problem is not the product. The problem is how they are sold. The way they are sold is, I would say, borderline fraud, right? I'm not even going to mince words there. And I recently spoke to someone who's doing, I cannot mention that company's name right now because it's shared with me confidentially. I'll put it in the comments whenever that report comes. And I've seen the kind of analysis and the observation they have from how banks sell insurance, and it is mind-boggling. It is, when I read it and he asked me what is your first reaction, I said it's borderline fraud.
Hello, welcome to another edition of This or That. This is Bhartendra Singh. म्यूचुअल फंड सही है, बट एक और प्रोडक्ट है जो और भी सही है और ज़रूरी भी है, वो है इंश्योरेंस. एंड टू टॉक अबाउट इंश्योरेंस, टुडे आवर गेस्ट इज़ मिस्टर महावीर चोपड़ा. ही इज़ founder and CEO of Beshak.org. Beshak is an independent platform that connects advisors to the customers, supported by their unbiased research and tools, is completely unbiased. And Mahavir has been writing continuously about insurance for a very, very long time and has a very candid and good information on insurance. So thank you, Mahavir. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me, Bhartendra.
First question is that insurance seems to be very misunderstood and mistrusted product in India. I'll share a couple of stories or personal experiences. First is with respect to my mother. She got admitted during an emergency, and neighbors admitted her. Yeah. They entered some age, and then when I filed for claim, the claim was rejected, saying that there is a difference in the age. 7 months gap was there, and claim was rejected.
That's it. Only 7 months gap.
And everything else was fine. She was treated and everything.
Right.
That's first experience for me. Second, I have a friend, engineer, MBA, works in a PSU bank. He did not have a health insurance. I asked him to buy a health insurance. He took it, and end of the year he calls me and says, "Yeah, they are asking me for paying the premium again." मैंने कहा क्या दिक्कत है? You have to pay the premium. नहीं, but कुछ दिया नहीं है. So that's the level. So why is this the case?
Yeah. So it's a case of expectation mismatch actually, right? Meaning, if I take the second case first, right? Meaning, typically we've been trained, or we've been basically brought up, or we've been oriented understanding that if we give something, we'll get something back. Insurance is a product where typically it is counterintuitive, where you basically pay money to protect yourself, basically protect your money, right? Typically you protect your money with paying money. It's not something that is not a dinner table conversation that happens in India, between, let's say, a parent or a child, or let's say between two brothers, or let's say husband wife, as much as we could have imagined, maybe how it probably would be happening in the West. Largely the reason for that is that they are evolved more than us, typically because they've come out of survival probably 3-4 generations earlier, right? Typically in India, we are now moving, if you look at the typically the overall generations, or probably this is my own view of the world, is that we are seeing more and more people who are seeing second generation of people who are affluent, or third generation of people who are affluent. And when there is affluence is where basically you start thinking about risk management, and you start thinking of paying money to protect basically money, right? So that's the first thing. So it's also about evolution, right? Meaning you being able to understand nuance takes some time, probably a generation of time for you to be able to understand that. Your example of basically a person saying that I did not get anything back is a very classic problem in India, right? If you see, insurance in India is known as, to a lot of people, insurance is basically known as LIC, right? मैंने LIC लिया है, Mediclaim मैंने health insurance का LIC लिया है, right? And I'm not talking about the LIC brand as such, but I'm typically talking about people knowing insurance as a product where you get money back, right? And that's where the initial illusion or delusion has been caused, right? There hasn't been a lot of investment that has gone into helping customers understand this also, right? As one more thing. There is an expectation mismatch, which is the other problem, right? Which is basically that I want, as a customer, the product to be cheap and very simple, right? When it has to be cheap and simple, which basically means that I pay a very small price, and then whenever I need a claim, I get the claim, right? But it is very opposite for an insurance company. The insurance company basically wants to make a product which is expensive, right? And wants to control claims, right? And that is basically also a conflict of interest, right? It is a conflict of interest which causes all the basically whatever you're seeing on the social media where people are talking about not getting claims, not basically getting whatever they were expecting, is basically also the reason why mistrust has got created. Social media has amplified it, right? Basically what's happened is that earlier also this used to happen. The claims are not paid. But now whenever a claim doesn't get paid, people will basically come and take out their angst on LinkedIn or basically any other social media, right? So that happens. The second case that you mentioned, where there was an age mismatch. A 7-month age mismatch in a country like India, honestly, is a very, very small thing. And the claim should have not been rejected. Because in India, typically, all our parents, at least that's what I see in my lens, have 2 birth dates also, right? मतलब लोगों के 2 birth dates है, एक जो स्कूल में दी हुई birth date है, and one birth date that they have, which is basically the real birth date also, right? I don't know whether you've experienced this in your own families, right? So कौन सा देना है, right? Official देना है, real देना है, and
in this case, what happened was that the people who admitted, they didn't know the age. They just said whatever age,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Exactly. So did finally the claim get paid or not?
Never got paid.
Okay. So there are 2 angles to this. If we actually look at this specific case, one is that actually this claim could have got paid if you had contested it, right, with the real documents and got it verified that, hey, this was a mistake. I have had a case like this where what happened is that it was a health insurance case where one of my distant family members got hospitalized, and he got hospitalized at around 2-3 a.m. in the night. And he had basically was getting kind of he had what is that called? He had fainted, right? He had almost fainted, right? So he was not in consciousness, and his family took him to the hospital, and the family basically got them admitted, and then basically it came out to be a case of vertigo, right? And the person who was hospitalized, he had a history of 5 months of basically being in having hypertension, right? 5 months. By mistake, the doctor mentioned it as 5 years, right? And the policy was 3 years ago, right? Now the insurance company saw this and say, hey, you know what? You did not mention that you had hypertension. We are cancelling your policy, right? And we are not going to pay your claim, right? But we fought it through. Meaning I basically helped them fight it through, and basically we got them that clarification that it was an error. So we went to the doctor, asked the doctor to write a letter saying that ये claim ये गलती से लिखा हुआ है, clarification, and then we gave the actual papers to prove that it was like a 5-month thing and not a 5-year thing. Similarly, for your case also, typically that can be done. But the problem here that I think is that once the claim gets rejected, You need to have that guidance or that advice available around you for someone to tell you that this is possible. Probably that is not available so easily, maybe. Yeah.
But so what should people take do ensure that their claims don't get rejected, like
Yeah. So, but then according to me, there are only two things that you can do. Meaning, in my view, either you become an expert yourself, right, where you study the product yourself, you understand the terms and conditions, all the exclusions yourself, or you rely on an expert, right? And according to us, meaning the way we have thought about everything, we have figured it out that according to us, it's not easy for someone to, like, my lens typically is of a health insurance customer. And it's not easy for a health insurance customer to understand a health insurance policy because he'll have to become a doctor, have to become a lawyer and a finance guy to be able to understand it together, right? Because the terms and conditions include finance terms, legal terms, and medical terms also, right? It's very difficult for someone who's buying a policy for once in their life to go through so much rigor, understand everything, and buy policies. So the other alternative is to rely on an expert. Right? Typically, I say this a lot of times, is that insurance is not like buying a mutual fund. Insurance is like health insurance specifically is like filing taxes. Like if you buy it, if you file taxes right, and you have the right expert when you're filing taxes right, then you would basically have peace of mind because you filed it right, and also you'll not get inquiries from the income tax. Similarly, when you are basically buying health insurance right with an expert on your side, you will not have problems. You will be in peace of mind because there was someone else to tell you that, hey, I have read everything, I have seen everything, this is a good product for you and you're buying it right. This is the process to buy it. And B, if there is a claim that comes, I have understood everything for you, so I will ensure your claim gets paid. So our basic thesis is basically coming down to that you should have a legit expert with you to help you, to handhold you to purchase, go through the entire purchase process basically. So basically start with choosing the right product, then understand the product properly, then go through the process, right, which is plays a very, very important role when you buy an insurance product. The process of buying, which is basically giving information to the insurance company, and then claims, right? If there is a issue or like the issues that you spoke about, then you have someone who can tell you that, you know what, let me speak to the insurance company X person, let me talk to a few people, and they basically figure out a solution for you rather than you having to do it. Like I got a tax inquiry about 2-3 months ago, right? I am a chartered accountant myself, but I couldn't understand that inquiry and I don't want to understand it anymore, right? So I gave it to my CA. He did everything. We went and sent the responses. According to me, health insurance specifically, at least, is in that line of thought that where it is so complex that you need an expert on your side.
Is this what motivated you to start Beshak, or what is Beshak? So
Yeah,
we'll spend some time on what is Beshak and what motivated you, and what are the red flags that you saw in the industry because of you thought, okay, I have to start something like this.
So I've been in the space for almost like now, at that time, before I started Beshak, I was in the space from December 2005, right? So in 2019, it was almost like 14-15 years that I was there in the insurance space. And we tried everything. I tried every model that is possible thanks to the companies that I got to work with. And I realized that every model that we're trying to work with in the digital insurance distribution space is converting at 2 to 3% only. Right? And that was basically my first metric, right? I said that what is wrong with this entire space or whatever we are doing, that 100 people are coming giving their phone numbers and only 2 people are buying and 98 people are not buying, right? And that basically got me thinking into dissecting that problem. And we found that there are 2 major issues, right? One issue is that the content that is given to you on digital platforms is basically having a conflict of interest of its own, right? Because that platform which is selling you is just replicating an offline medium sale, which is basically, मुझे इससे commission ज़्यादा मिलता है तो I'll show the product first, इससे commission कम मिलता है तो I'll show it last, right? So you are basically, customers have become very smart today and they understand this, that why is a product which has better service showing at number 3 and why is a product which is expensive showing at number 1, right? People are able to understand this. So that was one, right? People were able to crack this basic conflict that was there in what is being sold and what actually should be sold. But not get it completely, but get to know that there is a gray area, that there is something going wrong here. That was the first thing. And the second thing was basically the credibility of the person selling. So long-term products, in my view, cannot be sold by short-term people, right? People who have a short-term mindset cannot sell a long-term product. A call center guy is inherently a short-term guy, right? Meaning he's there for some time. Usually, a person sits in a call center. He's basically following a process, right? So he's doing maybe selling insurance today. Tomorrow he'll sell credit cards. Day after tomorrow he'll sell magic bricks. Mein jaake he will sell real estate, right? Whatever he'll do. That person cannot basically invoke that kind of confidence in the minds of the user who's buying a 35,000 rupees product on phone or on internet, and which is so complex, right, that the decision can happen, right? So we saw that difference in the customer being able to get that confidence of agreeing to what is being recommended by a person who probably is a 24-year, 25-year-old who has probably not bought an insurance himself or herself and is recommending a product to this person. So that conflict, these two things, one is the content having a conflict and the person who's selling not having the credibility or basically having the mindset to sell the right product which is long term for the customer, basically made us think that there is a need for something to be built on first principles. That's where Beshak came into picture.
So I recently I came across a senior industry leader saying that if people buy policy online versus through an agent, the policy gets served better if it is bought through an agent.
Okay.
The right. Two questions here. One is that true?
Okay.
Is that true? You can answer it separately.
Sure.
Is that something Beshak does, servicing the policy, or how does Beshak help you?
Sure. So this person, whoever is giving this comparison, typically would be a person who is having an expert who is taking the accountability of claims also, right? And that brings the difference, right? So typically when I'm buying from a call center, my claims will also be handled by a call center, right? And call centers typically are having a distance with the customer, right? Meaning typically it's a task or a ticket for the call center to close. Like you calling and saying that, hey, I want my claim to be paid, mujhe mera claim nahi mil raha hai. For him or her, whoever is on the phone, it's a ticket, right? It's not an accountable solution or an opinion that person needs to give. And you compare that to having a really good agent who takes the accountability of basically getting a claim paid, will be with you to ensure that, okay, I had sold this policy to you and I had told you that this policy will work for you. So I am taking the accountability of ensuring that whatever I had promised with this product, because you did not understand anything, you trusted me, I will try to now get it for you, right? So that difference comes into picture. But there are two types of people that are available today in the market, right? There is a real professional expert whom we call professional experts. They are people who have made a career out of basically giving people the right kind of advice and being accountable. And then there are salesmen, right, who are basically people in the neighborhood who are basically wanting to make some money on the side, right? मेरे पास कुछ काम नहीं है, तो I'm just selling insurance. But they are not running or understanding insurance the way they should be understanding insurance. They're just selling it basically because it's like a product. Like if they had to sell Amway, they would have sold Amway. If they would have to sell, let's say, real estate, कोई मिल गया, कोई lead मिल गया, तो they would sell that. They would also sell insurance. That is not the right person to buy insurance from. Should buy insurance from someone who has taken it up as a career, that I am going to help people to buy the right product and also help them in their lifetime whenever there are claims. If you find that kind of a person, it is unmatched, the kind of service that you can get from this. From a call center who's sitting like maybe multiple kilometers away, who is basically looking at this as a job and wanting to just complete his tickets and go home. It's just not possible to compare these two things. What Beshak does is basically bringing two things into picture, right? The two problems that I mentioned. The first problem that I mentioned is that there was a conflict in the content that was available for the customer. The content was basically having the conflict of interest of commissions and the relationship with insurance companies. So what we did, we created a company which does not have relationships with insurance companies on marketing, advertising, or distribution, so that our content is completely milawat free, right? We cannot, even if I want, we cannot have a list of products in a particular order just because I want it that way. It is purely based on scientific research that we do on a very, very thorough, wide kind of methodology that we have created. That is one. So all the products, all the content, all the ratings, all the tools that we have built do not have any conflict of interest. So that's the first problem that we solved. The second problem is what you just spoke about, is that we brought in a curated community of professional insurance experts who are exactly what I mentioned to you, who are career professionals with minimum 5 years of experience, who have claims experience and a track record of helping customers with claims over a long period of time, right? So our basic job at Beshak is to help customers connect with these experts. These experts then use our research tools, which are basically the tools that I just spoke about, which are purely based on unbiased research, and then help finalize a plan based on those tools that have been created. So there is a report that gets generated when the advisor and the customer talk, and that report basically will shortlist 3-4 products. The customer and the advisor have a conversation and decide which product to buy, and then the product is bought by the customer from the advisor. So that's the entire process, and then the advisor remains as a lifelong relationship with the customer for any issues, any troubleshooting that is required for as many number of years that the policy exists.
So can we conclude then it's better to consult an advisor, assuming that it's a good advisor,
right,
sees your interest,
right,
better than buying policy online? Because another thing that I found personally also is that when you go online, it's confusing. There are multiple products. Eventually, you don't know what to buy. Then
So that's a very important problem that you're talking about. Like if I go to any aggregator website today or a comparison website, I put my details, it will show me 90 products. It will show also on top that 90 plans shown here. How on earth can someone compare 90 plans? You can't, right? And it's also not compared properly. It's also not listed properly. The first product is the product which is giving the highest commissions, and not the first product is not the product that the insurance platform is recommending because it's good for the customer, right? So it is very complicated. And that's something that basically needs to be solved. And that's why we built our independent platform, where we said that we don't deal with insurance companies. तो आप आओ और आप जो भी यहाँ पे देखोगे is coming out of our scientific research that we do and a methodology that we have created after talking to multiple actuaries, multiple domain experts who have helped us basically create like a methodology which is right for the customer, and then we have built it, right? Your answer to your question that expert versus agent versus online, the only question that you need to ask is that can you become an expert yourself, right? If you can become an expert like yourself, like my tax returns, if I can basically understand income tax myself, then it's fine. You can file it online using the online portal of income tax directly and then be happy with it, right? Are you that person? Or are you that person who basically feels that if it's a complex product, I want an expert, right? And then you take a decision. Like meaning, when I say it, because I run a company which does this, there is a conflict, right? Meaning because I am biased towards it. But at the same time, that's why I don't want to answer this question by telling you which way to go. It's more about understanding that this product is very, very complex. Do you want to understand everything on your own? A. Are you okay with basically fighting the claims whenever it comes and there is a dispute on your own? And are you confident that a toll-free number will be able to help you? That answer you should get. A. And the B, sorry. And on the other side, are you okay with having another kind of a solution to this problem where you rely on an expert? कि भाई तू देख ले, अभी मेरे को तो बता. I have understood that you are the right guy. First, find the right guy. If you are the right guy, you tell me which product to buy, and bhai, you need to ensure that you help me at the time of claims. These are two approaches, and people need to discuss and decide with their families and decide whichever solution they want to take. That way.
Let's talk about some of these products. Okay.
Sure.
First, is there a difference between health insurance and Mediclaim? Because they're interchangeably used.
So if you go online and search, this is again a problem that you will see. A lot of people, because they want to write SEO articles, they will write there is a difference between health insurance and Mediclaim. But the true answer to this question is Mediclaim is a name of a product. Actually, it was not a product category. So when the government insurance companies, when private insurance companies did not exist, the government insurance companies, when they started selling health insurance in India, they called it Mediclaim, right? So Mediclaim is basically a name of a product. So it's called like New India Assurance Family Floater Mediclaim, right? So they called it Mediclaim. Essentially, there is no difference actually, because it's just a product name. Like typically, let's say HDFC Ergo has a product name called Optima Secure, right? So Optima Secure के जैसे है Mediclaim, right? So there is no difference.
It's the same product.
It is the same thing. There is no difference. Today, Mediclaim is being used by people which are probably the older generations, because they saw that time when New India or a government insurance company was the only people who were selling it. Health insurance as a word started getting used when the private insurers came in that way. So there is this. That is the only difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, life insurance product, there is term insurance, there is ULIP,
Yeah.
and there is endowment.
Yeah.
Basically, if you can simply explain what these 2-3 products are.
Yeah.
that-
So term insurance typically is the purest form of life insurance in the life insurance space, right? Life insurance is not term insurance. So life insurance has multiple category of products. Term insurance is one category, which is the purest form of risk cover that you can get from for the risk of early death, right? So term insurance basically solves the problem of someone who is a breadwinner in the family, who's taking care of a particular number of dependents in the family, and the house runs because of that person. And if that person passes away early in his life, and that causes a huge disruption in the remaining family members who are dependent on this person, then that is what is covered by term insurance. So term insurance is a simple cover where you pay a certain amount of premium to get a coverage, and if death happens, right, in the period of the cover, which is called the term, and that's why it's called a term insurance cover, then the insurance company pays you that sum insured. So let's say if you're paying 20,000 rupees for a 1 crore cover, you pay 20,000 rupees every year. Let's say year 5, year 6, year 7, someone dies in the year 8 and he was covered with 1 crore, the insurance company will pay 1 crore to the customer's family, right? One more important thing to understand here is that if the term ends, right, and the death hasn't happened, which is a great thing, right, that the person survived that term period, then nothing gets paid to the customer. So that's why that's why I called it the purest form of insurance, where you are just giving money to get protected for the risk of early death of a breadwinner in the family. So that is basically term insurance.
What is the ideal term for which you should take term insurance?
Typically, what I would recommend is whatever is the age where you feel that you would have enough net worth to take care of your family, even if you don't exist, right? So typically, the age where you are financially free, right? That would be the answer to give. In very simple terms, the retirement age, right? Meaning if it has to be understood in very simple terms. Like if I ask this question to someone who is a man on the street and I will say that कब तक लेना चाहिए, तो I will say that आप retire कभी होने वाले हो. So if he says that I'll retire at 50, then probably a buffer of 5 more years is what I would add, and then cover that person till 55 that way. So that is the term that typically you should take. Today there are policies that are available which are available till age 85, 95, 100.
Does it make sense to take till?
Of course not, but it again comes from the mindset that we spoke about, that people feel कि मैं तो 80 तक जीऊँगा, तो मैं 85 तक ले लेता हूँ तो कुछ तो मिलेगा. But people are not understanding that the present value of that money, 1 crore, after 40 years is going to be 5 lakh rupees. तो उस टाइम पे तो तुमको, your family will curse you that you left 5 lakh for them. Better focus on covering term insurance for the early death and the time when you typically see a financial gap between what you have and what your family will need when you don't exist. Utna cover karo, and when that wealth is generated which can take care of family with you, without you, then you don't need term insurance. You should drop term insurance also. So that is how it should be.
I've spent a lot of time in mutual fund industry,
Right.
Selling mutual fund. And typically the way we pitch is that you should take term insurance, and for your investment you should do mutual funds.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people, advisors, influencers, brands will say that ULIP and endowments are not good products. You should not be considering. In fact, I also feel so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would ask you to explain what is ULIP,
Sure.
what is endowment,
Yeah.
and what is its place. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Who should take these products?
Sure. So I'll go with ULIP first. So ULIP is basically, the full form of ULIP is unit linked insurance policy. It's basically a policy where you are typically paying a certain amount of premium. A part of that premium basically is used to give you a life insurance cover, which is usually 10 times of the premium amount, and the rest of the amount is getting invested in a fund. Now, like mutual funds, it could be basically a debt fund, it could be a equity fund, it could be large cap, small cap, all those options are available, right? So ULIP is a combination of a mutual fund and a term insurance policy built into one, right? Whether you should buy it or not buy it, my view about every product that has been created is that it does serve a particular need, right? And if you're buying it consciously after understanding all the contours of the product, and if it suits you, then it makes sense for you. Like, I'll give you a simple example, right? A lot of people buy ULIPs. A ULIP has a very interesting feature. It has a feature where you can switch between funds, right? Free, right? Like, there could be 4 switches in a year which are freely available. Now let's understand. Let's look at ULIP as a like-to-like product for some time, where the charges, the cost management is the same. There are products where the cost charges
management is same compared to mutual funds.
Yes.
Okay.
So, like, for example, the fund management charge in a ULIP, I'm not 100% sure about it, but it is in the range of 1.5%, around 1.25 to 1.5%, which is not a bad fund management charge. And let's keep that aside for the matter and look at someone who is basically looking at switching as an important part of the product that he wants to buy, right? Because he wants to do risk management, right, over a period of time. So what happens when you buy a mutual fund? You buy a mutual fund, if you want to switch from, let's say equity to debt, you will have to sell the equity units and then buy units in debt, right? In case of ULIP, you can switch between funds. So you have, let's say, bought all units in equity, you can convert them all into debt without selling them, right? So tax arbitrage जो आपको मिलता है वहाँ पे जो आपका compare that to mutual fund is available, right? I'll give you another example, and I'm not for ULIPs against mutual fund, for mutual funds against ULIP. I'm just like giving perspective of where it could fit. The other example that I would give is, if it is bought right, ULIPs come with basically products which are child products, right? Meaning कि child ULIP है वो. Child ULIP में there is an interesting feature that comes which is called waiver of premium, right? What it says is that, let's say I am buying, my child is, let's say, 5 years old, and I'm planning his education at 20, just as an example. So 15 years of premium SIPs probably I would have paid in a mutual fund, meaning 15 years multiplied by 12. So like approximately I think 180 SIPs मैं pay करता. What this product can give you, ULIP can give you, if the fund management is good, if the returns are good in the product, is that it gives you a waiver of premium rider, which if you can add in a child product, is that I am buying the product with a beneficiary being my child. But let's say during this 180 installments of money that I'm going to pay, if I pass away, then the insurance company pays for the remaining installments and ensures the goal is met, which is not something that is available in a mutual fund, right? So specifically for goals which are like child education goals, where I want to ensure that my child's education goal gets met even if I pass away, if the product is efficient, then this can be a solution for someone, right? This can be a solution for someone.
इसमें एक counter argument है, which is that
absolutely.
You take, say, term insurance. Let's say I take term insurance for say 2-3 crore rupees, and I invest in a SIP in mutual fund.
Correct.
Is there a number which says that generally people say if you take a term insurance plus mutual fund and compare it to ULIP, the term plus mutual fund will be better?
Yeah, I'm saying that you should not diss a product category. I would say just do a spreadsheet calculation. Right? This may work, that may work. I don't know. I am not even getting into that because that will require us to sit and do calculation.
Correct.
But I am saying that understand that there are certain features which could be on your benefit, and then compare. And then find out that, okay, still term and mutual fund is better, and then go for term and mutual fund. But don't just go by someone like an influencer saying something to you. A lot of people's careers are dependent on what they said 10 years ago, right? I know of such people who are celebrity influencers. उन्होंने 10 साल पहले बोल दिया था कि mutual funds are better, don't mix insurance and investment. Right? And now they cannot backtrack, even if a better ULIP product has come. And I've had conversations with such people and explained and proven to them that there are a few, very, very few ULIPs which can actually match mutual funds in terms of fund management and also in terms of performance and in terms of charge structure also. But they did not budge, right? So I'm saying, and I am also, don't take me, whatever I am saying also, don't take it that also with a pinch of salt. But what I am trying to just bring out here is that there are certain features which could be good for you. explore those features. And if still you feel
Those
whatever
features,
works for
one
you,
is switching.
yes. And these are two examples. And the second is basically this waiver of premium thing, which basically I want to ensure that my SIPs are paid even if I pass away, right? It gives me that feature, right? Meaning that protection happens without me having to worry about it. That way, my goal is protected with an insurance is the feature.
Another argument that comes
Yeah,
against this
yeah.
product is charges. Okay,
Correct,
so
correct.
over
Absolutely.
a period, these charges have reduced.
Yeah. The products that get sold to you typically are toxic products. Typically, if someone is coming and selling a product to you, be very, very aware that typically these could be very high commission products. Like if you're entering into a bank and someone is selling you a product, whichever I mentioned also, it's fine, you run away, but don't try to get bite into that temptation of buying it because of the bank manager telling you to buy the product, right? Out of 100 products, 95 products would not be good for you, is my view, in this ULIP and this endowment side. Very few products could actually be efficient for you. So don't get sold a ULIP, don't get sold an endowment. Even if someone is selling you this endowment or a ULIP, you sit down and understand it and you buy it. That's very important.
Is the content available for this on Beshak? On ULIP?
For ULIP, we have started building something called a savings decoder kind of a tool, where what we do is that we show what is sold to you, what is promised to you, what is sold to you. So we share the sales pitch and then we show कि actual story क्या है. So customers basically also get to see कि अच्छा मुझे बेचा तो ऐसे गया था. We show that and then we show the truth under that, right? So that it helps customers understand both sides of the story, because what is being told to them is not wrong, but the way it is told to them. So typically the way a ULIP or a endowment is sold is on absolute terms. 1 लाख रुपए 10 साल पे करो, 11 से 21 साल आपको 2 लाख मिलेगा. And the customer actually feels कि double मिल रहा है पैसा. When you put it on a spreadsheet, it's 5.5% or 6% ROI, right? It's fine. 5.5-6% ROI is not bad, but it's not sold that way. It's sold as double, which is wrong, right? It could have been actually sold as 6% pre-tax, post-tax, because there is no tax on if you buy it till a certain amount in insurance. 6% is a good return, right, on a product which guarantees you money, right? But it's not sold that way. It's sold saying that सर आप 1 लाख भरो 10 साल के लिए, 11 से 21 साल में आपको 2 लाख रुपए मिलेगा हर साल, right? So double पैसे मिलेंगे. So that is the problem actually, that way.
So are there we'll come back to endowment, but are there any products which in terms of return comparable to say equity or equity mutual fund, say using 5-6%,
Yeah.
slightly higher, maybe say 8%, 9%?
No. So these are typically the guaranteed, these are called guaranteed saving plans, which are basically available on life insurance companies, platforms, and sold also through banks and every other intermediary. These products typically tell you similar pitch hota hai. As I just told you, one of the pitches 1 lakh 10 years, 11 to 21, 2 lakhs. If you put it on a spreadsheet and if you're young, typically it will give you a return of between 5.5 to 6.2%. That would be the return that you would get. That's my approximate, the last time when I did an analysis on this. And basically this is tax-free, right? If you do it in a certain amount, right? And because this is tax-free, it comes down to, with tax, it would come down to around 8%. It is comparable to, and plus it is long-term. So like if you compare it to, this can be compared to an FD, right? And when you compare to an FD आजकल आपको इतना return नहीं दे रहा है, and FDs, if I'm not wrong, are available for 3 or 5 years max. This is available for you for 15-20 years. So it is comparable, and only if you've understood the product right, like I've said, then it's not a wrong product to buy. If you understood and it solves a problem for you.
So if I understand it correctly,
Sure.
If protection is in the mind, if tax saving is in the mind, then these products are something that you can explore.
Protection के लिए you should not buy an endowment
not
or a
in the
ULIP.
protection in the sense of protection, but in the sense that you're saying there is a waiver. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, in that sense, risk management point of view, you can consider these products.
Yeah. So meaning I'm saying every product solves a specific problem. Like for example, when I talk to a lot of people, they feel that I don't want return on capital, I want return of capital. I want to ensure that my money comes back to me. My problem is not that I want to get a very high return. I just want to I want my money to be safe. And that's where these kind of products are doing. That's why these products are doing well, where they say that आपको guaranteed पैसा मिलेगा. So a lot of people have that mindset that they don't want a return on capital. Like they are not looking at an ROI. They are looking at the money to be safe. And that's why these products do answer a question for these products. Agreed, meaning it's an option and it should be looked at as an option. And if it is not efficient, if it is compared to other products that are available and probably other products are giving you better returns while being safe, then obviously you should go with those products.
But then it comes back to this, that mutual fund, if you explore, you look at history of mutual fund for last 10, 15, 20 years, people have not lost money. I mean, there's no guarantee and the returns are decent. So if people are really worried about that they want a guaranteed return, so there is no guarantee, of course, okay, but people will get money. The money is safe in mutual fund as well, right?
No, I'm not saying that money is not safe, but there is a segment of population in our country which is worried about stock markets, right? Okay. And which is basically, there is the FD market in India is bigger than mutual fund. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not
absolutely.
Right? What is the reason for that? Right? Because otherwise, if mutual fund is definitely a better option, right? For someone who's 30-year-old, why should he put money in FD, right? But there are people who are 30-year-olds who are said putting money in FD because that is how we've been wired since maybe our childhood and what our parents told us, right? So there is a population or a certain segment of people who feel that मुझे stock market से डर लगता है. I don't want to get into that risk. I have my hard-earned so much money. It's fine if I get less return, but I want to keep it safe. है वो population. Inflation beat कर देगा, आपका पैसा negative हो जाएगा because of the time value of money. A lot of people don't understand that. And there is a need to educate those people and tell them that they should not buy it. But I'm saying that if it is a conscious decision that a person is making, who are we to say that वो wrong है, right? उसको रात को नींद सही आ रही है, right? और उसको लग रहा है कि ठीक है मुझे इतना मिलेगा चलेगा, मेरे को नहीं फर्क पड़ता इन्फ्लेशन से. तो how can we decide sitting here saying that नहीं आपको तो इन्फ्लेशन को समझना ही पड़ेगा, is what I'm trying to say. It should give you good sleep at night. You should know what you're getting from the product is what I feel is important. And if you understood these two things, then there is a population of people who feel कि मुझे तो यही चाहिए. If you go to a bank and tell a person who's doing FD, tell him everything, but still he's putting money in FD, right? So FD should also be then bad products that way, is what I'm trying to say. That way is what I'm saying. The problem is not the product. The problem is how they are sold. The way they are sold is, I would say, borderline fraud, right? I'm not even going to mince words there. And I recently spoke to someone who's doing, I cannot mention that company's name right now because it's shared with me confidentially. I'll put it in the comments whenever that report comes. And I've seen the kind of analysis and the observation they have from how banks sell insurance. And it is mind-boggling. It is, when I read it and he asked me, what is your first reaction? I said, it's borderline fraud. Customers are not told that it's a 5-year payment product, and they sold as FDs, right? And they've told that you have to pay only 1 year. And these are senior citizens being sold such products. Senior citizens are sold ULIPs, which they don't need. Their risk appetite is not to buy a ULIP. Their risk appetite is probably to buy something very simple, right? They should have bought a debt mutual fund, but that is not what they sold to them. So that is the problem. How it is sold, the incentives behind the product, and that they are not, there is no, if I can use the word sunwai, when a misselling happens and nothing happens to the person who is misselling. If you see, till date, have you heard of someone or some bank having missold a product, or a person having missold a product, going and being basically penalized for it significantly, right? I have not seen that happening. Is the problem, in my view.
No, so this particular case, so I personally know. I know a friend.
Okay.
He was one of the large private bank in Bihar. People used to come for FDs, and these are villagers, right?
Yes.
And they used to sell them saying ये लाल FD है.
Yeah.
And they used to buy it, you know.
लाल FD.
लाल FD बोल के बेचते थे उसको, ठीक है. And then later on, he's thinking it's a recurring FD.
Yeah.
He's paying, and then when he comes to withdraw, it's insurance, right?
Yeah.
So this is
so
this
the
happens.
incentives and the selling approaches are a very serious, require a very, very serious revamp actually. And it's become a vicious circle because now it is forming a very large percentage of the business that banks do and the revenue that they earn. It's passing, it is also a very large percentage of the business that insurance companies do. And that's why this revamp will require the government will have to step in, or the regulator will have to step in very seriously to solve this problem. But this is impacting millions of people in my view. Yeah.
So we'll cover endowment also. We've covered term and ULIP.
Yeah,
so how is endowment different from ULIP?
So endowment is typically a product which is not a product which invests into funds, and the funds are not typically transparently shared with the customer. It is typically a product which is more opaque actually, where the customer is just told that A, you will pay so much and you will get B so much back. That is how it's sold. Some products are guaranteed, where there is a clear understanding of how much you pay and how much you get. And some products are basically non-guaranteed, which are basically called products which are par products, basically participating products, where you also get bonus as part of the returns from the insurance company. So the insurance company says, you give me money over, let's say 10 years, and I will give you X amount of money guaranteed. And I will, based on my profits, I will also release bonuses to you. LIC mein this is very common, and if you
where do they put this money if they are not putting it in funds?
I think most of meaning if you I am not an expert on the finance side of insurance companies, but what I've understood is that if you look at the LIC's fund management, they are putting very high amount of money in equity only, right? Meaning a large amount of money in equity. So they are earning on equity, but they are paying based on FD rates. That way.
Okay,
that's where they make so much cash.
Understood it correctly, term insurance, pure insurance product. You pay money. If in the term something happens, you get money. ULIP is market linked.
Correct.
It can be invested in equities and debt.
Correct.
You can switch.
Yes.
Okay. And you know which funds you're choosing. You know the categories.
Absolutely. You can choose. You can choose combination of funds also.
But in case of endowment, you don't know where the money is being invested.
Correct.
There are guaranteed products and there are products which have no guarantee. They don't tell you where they're putting them.
Yeah, but endowment is sold to people who don't want to know also. There are people who are typically people who do not want a complex product. They want a product which says, I will basically... There is a large population of the people who don't want to know कि कहाँ जा रहा है वो पैसा. I want to know what I am giving and what I am getting. And that's the population that basically this serves.
So in term and does money in endowment also some part is insured?
Yes.
So what's the difference then in terms of return, in terms of use case? So if let's say I say okay, I want a safer product, okay, between the ULIP and endowment, what is the difference?
So in case of endowment, if it is sold to you, the return could be as low as 4.5%.
Okay.
Right, meaning the IRR that you'll get will be 4.5%.
Okay.
With a 10x coverage. So whatever premium you're paying, annual premium that you're paying, you get a 10x coverage. So typically what I just mentioned, that 1 lakh over 10 years, you pay 1 lakh every year for 10 years. And then from 12th to 21st, you will basically get 2 lakhs every year. This would turn out to be like a 5.5% return. And typically the cover that you will get for this kind of a policy would be 10 lakhs. The life insurance cover, the death benefit as it is called in the policy, is 10 lakhs. So that's the cover that you get. That way. So that is basically a endowment. ULIP basically would be like how a mutual fund would work, right? Is that the fund management would decide what is the kind of return that you would get, and the kind of category of fund that you have taken would decide the return that you will get, right? And then that could be benchmarked. So these returns are available on Morningstar. The funds that basically ULIPs invest into are available on Morningstar, like how mutual funds are available on Morningstar, right? So you can basically compare that and see returns and everything there, as far as I've seen like about 3-4 years ago.
So the difference between ULIP and mutual fund is the entire amount doesn't get invested in the fund. Is that correct? Yeah, that's the difference.
ULIP the major difference in ULIP and mutual fund, if you have to understand it, there would be around 3 differences. One difference is that ULIP has a life insurance cover, right, which is not existing in case of a mutual fund. The second is that ULIP basically has multiple charges. Fund management charge is just one type of charge. Then there is an allocation charge, which is typically the commission that the agent gets, whoever is selling it. and then there are some other charges like policy administration charges. And typically the products that get sold to you have are where these charges are very, very high, right? Meaning can be extremely high, right? And that's where mutual funds typically would, as a no-brainer, would be a better choice, right? When you're basically, if you're looking at it as a no-brainer, then ULIP will not work for you that way. So that is the difference. The charges would be the second difference. And third, like I said, is that the switching and those waiver of EVM and those kind of options that you get is the third difference in my current whatever I can recall.
Mahavir will talk about a little bit about term insurance. उसमें मुझे थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन कीजिए व्हाट इज सिंगल पे, व्हाट इज रेगुलर पे, यू नो, एंड प्रीमियम जो क्लेम आपको बाद में मिलता है उसमें भी वेरिएशन है, तो इफ यू कैन जस्ट ब्रीफली एक्सप्लेन.
Sure. So in case of term insurance, there are different payment options that are available for premium, right? Premium payment options are available. Depending upon your own convenience, you can decide which kind of premium payment option you want, right? So the options that are available are that you can pay one single premium and then be covered for the term of the policy, right? So I have a family, someone in the family who does not want to worry about future income. उसको मालूम नहीं है कि how many years they are going to earn, but right now they are doing very well. So he bought a single premium saying that I want to just do away with this. I have a lot of money right now. I want to pay single premium and I want to forget about this. I don't want to remember the premium. So it works for that kind of a person who's just saying that right now I have cash. I don't know about the future. I want a coverage and I don't want to remember premiums. I will take a single pay. Then there are some things which are basically 5 pay, 10 pay, which is basically saying that first 5 years I will pay premium and then I will basically get a coverage for whatever time. So let's say someone is buying a cover at 30 and buying a cover till 60. So they have a 30-year term cover, right? But they may pay premiums from 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and that basically 4-5 years, whatever they will pay premium, will take care of the coverage for the remaining term also, right? So they pay premiums in advance in a particular way, right? Meaning, if you look at it, it's like paying in advance, and that is the advantage that you get. Again, this is useful for people who are, let's say, freelancers, who typically know today that they are making enough money today, but don't know their future में वो लोग कमाएंगे कि नहीं कमाएंगे, but they want to ensure that their family is protected. So they know that next 5 years I'm going to make enough money. So let me pay in 5 years and forget about it. Right? Then there are people who can take the term which is a pay till 60 kind of a term, which is basically that I will pay till my retirement. Right? So I am taking a cover till let's say 70, but I'll pay till 60. Right? So that is typically useful for people who are employees, right? Who clearly know that they have a clear roadmap of कि मैं कोई ना कोई कंपनी में काम करने वाला हूँ and I will have predictable income coming to me every year, and hence I will pay based on that. So I will pay till retirement and I'll get probably a cover till 70, 65, whatever. So that is another option. And then pay till the term is also available, which is where I'm taking a cover till 65. I'm paying premium till 65. That is the another option.
आपने इसमें have you done some calculation in terms of which is more beneficial financially?
There are. It depends on the age where you are starting, and then there is slightly. We have an ebook on our platform, which is a term insurance ebook that we have built. It's a free ebook. There's nothing that you need to give us for that. And in that we've done these kind of sample calculations to explain what works and what does not work. And honestly speaking, the difference is not very big. Right? And hence the decision comes down to convenience, basically. Okay. Like a lot of people feel, I'll give you an example. I had a friend who I told him that you buy a smaller term pay and take a longer cover. He is saying, why should I pay premiums in advance, right, to an insurance company? What if I die in the next 2 years only? Then I paid more premium than I should have paid, right? I will let it spread over multiple years, because I'm paying lesser. So it's an approach, right? I have an approach that I'm probably going to die in a couple of years. And some people have an approach that I will never die. So people who think that way, and whatever gives you better sleep at night is the decision you should take, because the mathematical calculation of this, which will calculate the ROI, NPV, all that, is not very significant. There's not a very significant difference, because finally you're dealing with a fund manager who's an insurance company who has done all the calculations, which is going to be more in their interest than your interest.
The same term policy, for the way you will get the claim, also there is a variation. You will get a lump sum and then you get something monthly.
Correct.
So उसमें भी same है फंडा
Yeah.
like
So yeah, that's a very good question to ask because a lot of people don't know about this, and we have a tool on our platform where we ask this question to customers: that is your nominee having the financial aptitude to be able to take care of that 3 crores suddenly dropping into their bank account? Because there are people who are financially vulnerable. They may be well educated, but they don't know how to handle 3 crores. And as soon as 3 crores land in your account, your bank manager definitely comes to know about it. And they may sell you a product which you do not want to buy. Are you okay with, do you think your family member, whoever is going to get that money, or the people around them, right, are going to be would be able to ensure that a large lump sum dropping into their account will be taken care of correctly? They can be put in the right places. If not, then basically the choice of income plan comes into place, where that, let's say, 3 crore cover is divided into 100 installments and paid to you in 100 months, right? So you get basically 3 lakhs every month for 100 months. That typically is almost like 8 years, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 8 to 8.5 years of payment that you
so
get.
that also depends on who is the nominee and whether they
Yes.
can handle a lump sum.
That is how
or
we would look at it. That is how we've understood how it can help people. Yes, that is the answer to that question.
So we'll just quickly, I'll want to talk about some myths that
Yeah.
or reality you can tell me. Okay.
Sure.
First is with the health insurance, where
Yeah.
people say if I don't get money, then why should I take health insurance? I saw one of your video where they say even 1 crore insurance is not enough.
Correct.
So
Yeah, meaning like we've been discussing since the beginning that you shouldn't look at insurance as something that will give you something in return. It is basically a small portion of money from your income or your savings that you're paying to solve for a very large amount of expense or a loss that you can incur in the future, which can wipe out your savings, right? I can give a simple example of this is that mutual fund distributors, let's say 10 years ago, or maybe even earlier, I'm being probably saying 10 years ago since the 5 years, so probably 15 years ago, I have seen did not sell insurance, like health insurance products. Like the last 10 years since I've been speaking to them, I am hearing now they're selling health insurance because they've understood the fact that if you're creating wealth for someone, it can get, and one hospitalization has come into a place for that family member, for that person or the family member of that person, has wiped out and caused a withdrawal in the entire fund that was got created over so many years of ensuring that SIPs are getting paid. So it is important that you have health insurance to protect your savings and they not getting wiped out because of a large major hospitalization that happens in your family.
can I hide smoking habits, or should I hide smoking habits, or should while taking term insurance?
Yeah.
So just tell me what are the things that I should definitely declare or not declare.
Yeah. So everything that is mentioned in the proposal form, you should ensure that you declare it right, because you shouldn't give the insurance company a chance at the time of claims to find out that something was inconsistent, not properly mentioned, and basically cancel your policy or cancel your claim.
But let's say I was smoking when I was say 25, 26. I
Yeah.
stopped,
Yeah.
and now I am 40 and
Yeah.
45,
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
still I should declare that I'm a smoker.
Yeah, so I'll tell you how that question needs to be answered. So typically, whenever an insurance company asks this question, they will put under that question. So if you're basically doing it online, there will be a footnote to that question, or there will be like an I button. If you press that I button, it will tell you that this question basically means that have you been smoking since the last 2 years?
Okay.
Right? It will give you that clarification. If there is no such caveat put to that question, then you will have to answer saying that yes, I have smoked in the past. The question also is very important to understand and interpret. Is it saying do you smoke, or is it saying did you smoke? If it is saying did you smoke, you mention about it and you say that I don't smoke right now and I used to smoke earlier, right? Or if it's just a yes or no question, then answer in the safer side, which is basically yes, and then give more details on an email, or maybe if it's a manual form, then within that form wherever you get space to write that way. But I would always suggest that you err at the side of caution by giving more information to an insurer than they're asking, so that your family, specifically in a product like term insurance, when you will not be there when the claim comes, they don't have to fight for something which and give clarifications at that time. It's better to be as truthful, as clear, and get a very clear policy where you do not have your family members to go through the hassle of claims.
Okay. So one question that I have is on the cost bit.
Sure.
Is cheap policy bad policy?
No, meaning price is like we do ratings on our platform, right? Which is a product where we rate products on claims, on their service, and on the product benefits. We always keep price as a separate metric. We do not mix it with the ratings. The reason is the answer to your question, is that basically price is something that you are basically going to pay for a particular product that you get, right? Your product is what you get, price is what you pay. If the product that you get is useful for you and it making sense for you and it is relevant for you in the long run, like typically let's say if you're talking about health insurance, then for that price it makes sense for you, right? The key problem is that buying just based on price is not the right thing to do. But if the price that you're paying is getting you the product, consciously you're buying the product that is making sense for you and basically solving your problems for the long run, then it's the right price.
Why I ask this question is that all the top brands are expensive. All the newer brands are cheaper. Okay. I wouldn't want to name the brands, but so that's the case. So then is it okay to evaluate cheaper brands?
Yes, you can evaluate cheaper brands, but why are larger brands charging you more? Because they are giving you that X factor of getting better sleep at night, right? Now, if that is what you want to optimize for, then it makes sense for you to buy this large brand. Like I am buying a product for 40 years, right? If I'm buying health insurance and if I'm 30-year-old, I'm buying it probably, and if I think I'm going to live till 80, then I'm buying it for 50 years, right? So I want to ensure that that company survives for that time and the company also remains, meaning as kind of honest as I know it is today for that number of years, and the management does not change hands, right? So that all comes into picture when you're taking a decision, and that's why it's a complex decision. It's a decision which has a lot of psychological angle to it, honestly, if I feel, because it's a 50-year call and it should give you peace of mind. And that's why basically those brands which are charging you more are charging you more. Also, what I feel is that price and product are not the only two things to look for. There is also track record of these insurance companies, right? Which is available on certain platforms, including on Beshak, where you can see how many complaints do they get per claim, how many claims do they settle in, let's say, 30 days of time, and how many do they settle after 30 days of their time. So you get to know their efficiency, right? So you should look at those kind of things also before you make a decision. So brand is one, price is the other, products is the third, product is the third. Fourth is, let's say, the service track record, whatever you feel. Fifth basically would be claims track record. And sixth is your own what is going to give you peace, right? So whenever, let's say, I have a conversation with a friend, right? And there is a conversation that first happens on logic, and then we come to shortlisting, let's say 2-3 products. And then finally it comes down to that X factor that is going to help him get that peace. And for that piece, there is a certain price that if you have to pay, you have to pay that way.
Want to conclude this session. What are the mistakes that people should be avoiding while buying health insurance and term insurance and other products, so that they don't run into all this distrust issue and claim settlement issues?
Right.
What are these things?
So I think the first important thing is to assess your requirements very carefully. A lot of people don't understand this and then randomly buy covers. Like for example, you spoke about the video that I have done, and I've spoken about 1 crore covers, right? Or above 1 crore covers. But randomly just buying a vanity amount of cover, ke chalo 10 lakh le lete hai, without understanding the logic why you need 10 lakhs or why you need 5 lakhs. Is 2 lakhs enough or 5 lakhs enough or 10 lakhs enough? Understanding the calculation, why you need a cover and what is adequate for you is very important, both in health insurance and term insurance. Term insurance also, this is a problem where since the last 10 years, everybody is only talking about 1 crore cover. But how is that possible, right? 1 crore, if it was good enough for someone who was like buying a cover at, let's say 2015, cannot be the same person and now suggesting 1 crore for someone who's today, right? There is a huge amount of time value of money that has impacted the inflation that has impacted the number, right? So 1 crore to nahi hona chahiye. But that vanity number still exists. So don't buy based on a number, buy based on a calculation. That is one. Second is basically understand the terms and conditions of the policy, at least the broad contours of the policy on your own. So the second is basically that you need to understand the broad contours of the contract that you're getting into, like which is insurance is a contract. So you need to understand financial limits kya hai, when will you not get paid, what are the exclusions in the product, at least the broad terms you should understand. The third, which is very, very important, is proposal form, right? The most important document in insurance ka process, right, including I'm saying till claims also, is going to be your proposal form. How you basically declared things to an insurance company. The insurance company is going to look at that when they are going to decide your claim. And if you made any mistakes at that time, it gives the insurance company, I'm going to say it in the eyes of the customer, it's going to give a chance to the insurance company to reject your claim. Don't give that chance and be very diligent when you fill your proposal form. Err at the side of caution and ensure that you give more information if it is important, but do not basically try to guess and drop out some information. That is the third. And fourth, according to me, because insurance is so complex, not having spent enough time to decide whom to buy from is also a mistake that people make. It's very important that you buy from the right company, right institution, or right individual or right platform, and take time to decide where to buy from based on whether that company or that individual or that platform is going to be accountable for claims for you in the long run. If they are accountable for claims, they will ensure the remaining 3 things that I mentioned right now are taken care of and you're aware of them when you buy the policy. So these are the key things that, according to me, should be looked at in any insurance product that you're buying.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.